So welcome everyone. It's great to see you during what's a very hot summer evening. So I am thrilled to be here inside at the National Kidney Foundation of Wisconsin. So welcome everyone. Tonight's program, I think, is very timely, and I am thrilled that one of our Living Donors Together volunteers, Michelle Sherman, has offered to share her research and her project and with us tonight. So next slide, John. So as many of you might know, we have two amazing volunteers who co-chair our Living Donors Together efforts, and that's Michelle Sherman and Jill Dillon. So ladies, if you want to say hello.
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 Jill, I'll let you say hello so I'll be talking in a little bit.
Hi, everybody. I greatly don't like that picture of me. We'll have to get that changed. But hello, everybody.
All right.
Many of you on the call.
And Jill, do you mind introducing yourself a bit? Michelle's going to have an opportunity to share a little bit more, but for those that might be new to our audience tonight, can you just give a little, little intro?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Well, I have been a living donor for, it will be 9 years in just a couple of weeks, actually. I donated to a friend of a friend, Sarah Solinsky, and she is doing fantastic. She's had a few usual things that a lot of kidney recipients have, but other than that, she's actually doing great. And Sarah and I together started a group called Central Wisconsin Gift of Life, and we are actually in our 6th year of the group. Usually have a big scavenger hunt every April, but of course that ended up being canceled this year, unfortunately. And so we're looking at some unique ways to raise some money. We raise money for the University of Wisconsin organ and tissue donation, and then also for the Restoring Hope Transplant House in Middleton. So we've raised just over $65,000 in the last 5 years in our events. So pretty excited about that. We are in the middle right now of creating what's called a legacy garden. We believe the only one of its kind in Central Wisconsin. You can actually go to our Facebook page, Central Wisconsin Gift of Life, and check out our information about that. If you're interested, you can purchase a paver for $150. It's a 12 by 12 granite paver that you can actually memorialize somebody or honor somebody, a donor family, a donor, a recipient, just somebody related to you know, the work of transplant, anybody. And we're in the middle of doing that project right now. We hope to by the middle of September. So lots of exciting stuff happening in my world, and just love being a part of this with the National Kidney Foundation of Wisconsin. So thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Michelle, we're going to hear a little bit more from you. So can we go to the next slide, John? So we're thrilled to have all of you here with us tonight. Actually, we're going to hear from many of you tonight. We're also want to welcome our friends on Facebook that have joined us, and we are thrilled that we are all together. Kind of our concept for this year that Jill, Michelle, and I came up with is we were really going to focus on real people and real stories. And so tonight's program, I think, is evidence of that. And I'm excited to for us to get started tonight. So John, next slide.
All right, that is my cue, everybody, that it's time for me to start sharing my screen. And just like with every interview that I did with all of you, there's just those couple little starting technology issues. And then we're good to go. Can everybody see my screen?
Woohoo!
Excellent. Love it, love it. I am so thrilled, thankful, humbled, just overwhelmed with joy for the reception that I received in this ask, not only from planning with Cindy and those very early conversations of, gosh, I have this leadership capstone and what should we talk about? To the response that we received from living donors who filled out the online survey, who, and many of you, I love seeing all of your faces here on these little tiny little contact screens, who welcomed me into your virtual homes and backyards and let me get a glimpse of why you donated your kidney and your journey. And it was great to see kids and dogs and cats in every Zoom interview. And I'm so honored to be able to share this with the living donors together in transplant community this evening. So I'm going to jump right in a little bit more about me and my story.
I'm not sure.
I'm hearing feedback. I don't know if that's me or if you're not presenting, if you could mute just for a moment, that would be awesome. Excellent, thank you. A little bit more about me. So I donated my kidney to the father of my best friend from high school in August of 2014. Mr. Hanusa, Dick, in the photo here, has polycystic kidney disease and was diagnosed actually in an Army exam in his early 20s and knew at some point he would need a transplant. And at the age of 64 was when his body was ready for the kidney. And so my best friend was telling me the story on our way to a Bon Jovi concert and not asking me, just being a great storyteller. And I commend her for that often because she did such a fabulous search, if you will, of finding a kidney for her dad. She was telling me how she was going to go to the Army, to the neighborhood, to family, friends, and just widen her search because those in their immediate family were unable to donate due to health concerns and their own health issues. And so naively, I said, sure, I'll go get tested. And here I am today, 6 years later, proud to be a non-relative kidney donor for Mr. Hanusa. So he's doing fabulous. He is actually, his passion is aviation, and he is works now as a consultant in the aviation industry. And you can see us there. We were last year at the EAA on our anniversary weekend. And one fun story about my kidney is it travels all over the world. We call it the Flat Stanley of kidneys. And Mr. Hanusa will send me pictures wherever he goes of saying, hey, look, here's where your kidney is at today. So if it had a passport, I always say I'm very well traveled. And my kidney journey ultimately led me to grad school. There was a lot of life changes for me, a lot of considerations in that time. So many wonderful things happened in so many positive ways. I was able to meet folks like Bill and Diane who are on this call today. They introduced me to Cindy, who introduced me to many people in the kidney community that allowed me and gave me the opportunity to change career paths and enter into healthcare. I have just such a fabulous connection with my best friend and with her family. And one of the reasons I donated is because she has 4 beautiful daughters. And every time I think about it, I get choked up. Because I couldn't imagine their life without their gramps. Just as I watched my father be the best grandpa to my daughters, I wanted that for Sarah and for her daughters. And so there's just such a connection there through living donation. And I'm also so appreciative for the education and the example that this allows me to set for my own daughters, who at the time of donation were 6 and 8 and are now 14 and 16. They have a whole new perspective about kindness, thanks to living organ donation. And then again, ultimately, I had this goal, right? The box that I was going to check, which also included going skydiving, which I did right before donation. Shh, don't tell my transplant coordinators. But I also had the checkbox to obtain a master's degree, and the timing was right. I was able to participate in a program with 26 fellow colleagues of mine, and I now have my Master of Science and Leadership, and so much of that is in thanks in part because of your guys' contribution to this capstone project. So I'm going to jump right in. I'm only giving you the highlights. There's so much that's packaged into this capstone that Cindy and I talked about. I talked about with the transplant coordinators, using it to promote in living organ donation and to spread the word and to share your stories and experiences to those that are interested in considering living organ donation. So again, I won't say it enough tonight, but thank you, thank you, thank you. So my project started with talking to Cindy, saying, of course, with a capstone project, I wanted to promote living organ donation. Absolutely wanted the opportunity to connect with more living donors, to share their story, and to use that again as a tool to raise awareness and answer those questions wherever people would be, whether they're living room, sitting in the evaluation room, reading online. I wanted to provide a tool and a resource for those considering. And so we decided in many conversations that it would be awesome to have this a vehicle to do an online survey, but also in our COVID times, really embrace the virtual aspect of what all of us were going through, new realities, new uncertainties, like how the heck do you even do a Zoom call? I think I did one prior to COVID. So it was really fun to be able to explore, again, that virtual component in that current event of COVID in this capstone project. So we had an online survey, we had a Zoom interview, and as part of the capstone, there was the pre and post assessment, which I partnered with our living transplant coordinators and social workers at our 3 Wisconsin transplant centers. And I can't tell you enough how much in talking with them that they valued this project. They value your voice. Living donors, they were so appreciative to know that you stepped up and you want your voice to be heard and your stories to be shared to help educate and inspire and answer those questions. So on behalf of them, I'm sending the thanks and the kind words that they shared with me and passing those along to you guys as well. So again, thank you. The online survey, we had 33 online participants who conducted the survey, and you can see where they're, what transplant centers they were affiliated with. It was super fun, and some of you are on the call here this evening on the Zoom gathering. You're not affiliated with the Wisconsin Transplant Center. So that was really cool for me because that was a new element. I haven't really talked to many donors who donated outside of Wisconsin. So really cool element to share. And then 15 people conducted the Zoom interview with me, and we're going to share some highlights of that in these next few slides. So I just wanted to go through the questions that I asked in both of these, the online and the Zoom interview, just to give you a sense of what I was looking for in the project. And those questions were, please tell us why you chose to donate your kidney. And what risks or concerns did you have at the time of donation? If you were donating today and somebody on the call did, would you have different or new concerns because of coronavirus? And if yes, what questions would you ask your transplant coordinators to help you further understand? Most importantly, who is your kidney recipient? What month and year did you donate, and which transplant center are you affiliated with? And how has your life changed now that you are living with one kidney? And ultimately, what more would you like to share about living organ donation, your living organ donation experience with those who are considering? And so we just had such a breadth of experiences that were shared. And I think with many of you on the Zoom interviews, I talked a lot about, this kind of feels like for me being a mom and a parent, like going through labor and delivery, where there was so much similarity and I could relate, but every story was unique and fascinating and different and special in its own right. And so we're really excited again to be able to share the information in your stories in various ways through National Kidney Foundation, and then again as with the transplant centers. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and here's a troubleshooting technology opportunity. So I'm going to click this link, and hopefully everything works. So as we had so much content, I chose to share with my professor as part of the capstone project, one full Zoom interview, as well as I pulled the testimonials and the statements from the online surveys of why people chose to donate their kidneys. So really it just gave him a breath and just a tiny little piece of the totality of this project. And happy to report I got 100%. So again, thank you. Yeah, right, totally awesome. So this is a 4-minute video that I pulled together. Grab your beverage, get your popcorn, turn your volume up, and as our transplant coordinator from UW said, grab your Kleenex box if it's close as well. And I honestly have to thank my two daughters, one of them who's sitting right here in the background singing it with us as we're watching along. I couldn't have done this without them and their knowledge of technology and really cool platforms to use. So WeVideo is super fun. So a really cutting edge, progressive, in the moment, real events, life happening, life altering question that was asked as part of this capstone project was, would you still donate today in COVID times? So that retrospective look for those of us that have given in the past, would you donate your organ now? And what does that look like for you? And what questions would you have? Would you have new or different concerns? And in those moments of evaluation, when you're like, what's that last question? What more do you have to ask? The whole concept of this question was to give living donors that insight into the questions that you asked last, and what would you ask about coronavirus in your organ donation experience. And so the results were almost evenly split of it, and these are the results of the 33 online surveys. 18 people said no concerns. And many people just listed the word no, like no comment, nothing, just nope, I would not have any concerns. The comments that we received in the, for those that answered no, was that they work in healthcare and that they really would have no extra concerns, or that they're unbelievably impressed by their hospital, their surgical team, and the knowledge that their transplant coordinators have shared with them about various protocols, etc. And for those that answered yes, and there were 15 people that said yes, and I was one of them. I was like, of course I would have different concerns and questions, and let me think about what those would be. There were some general themes in everybody's responses, and of course everybody was interested in the exposure risk and the number of COVID positive patients that were in the hospital, and how were they isolating those patients, and how were they cleaning the hospitals? How are they testing the healthcare workers and quarantining any at-risk workers? It's all around safety. And then just education, just general education. And what do we know about coronavirus, and how do I need to protect myself and my kidney recipient? So many people were more concerned, right? We're the champions that we are more concerned about their recipient than them in their responses. It's very humbling, very, very humbling. But also curious of the risks of having one kidney now and in the future. What will that look like for us as donors? And then also, again, what will that look like for my recipient after transplant? Is he or she at greater risk of contracting the coronavirus? Travel precautions, transmission risks, etc. And then the one that was super touching and heartwarming, and I couldn't imagine, right, was the visitor policy. Like, could I have gone through this now knowing that I would be there alone, and that I would have my healthcare team, obviously, but I wouldn't have my family and my friends and my support network there with me. And some people had some really valid concerns and questions that they would be talking to their transplant coordinators about. Ultimately, everybody said yes, I would still donate in these coronavirus times, but obviously would have some additional questions or considerations. In talking with Cindy about this question, it's always nice to get her perspective, because she has not only just such a handle on what's happening in Wisconsin, but what's happening across the nation and across the globe when it comes to organ donation and transplant. And she's like, we're one of the first to be asking these questions and to be able to share these perspectives with those interested in organ donation. And so again, to say thank you, and to share that the transplant coordinators in the post assessment really valued these concerns. I shared every single comment word for word with the transplant coordinators so they could see those questions and really consider your feedback in their evaluation process and how they're reaching out and addressing this with those interested in donation. They were super appreciative. And this slide here melts my heart so much, because these are the 15 beautiful people who said yes to participating in a Zoom interview and said yes really quickly as well. Part of this capstone project was, it was an 8-week class and I didn't have approval from my professor. I think it was like week 4-ish. And so I was like, okay, I got to turn this around really quick. And I really thank you guys for jumping to that call of action and your willingness to share your story. So for Brenda and Megan, Karen, Miranda and Marie, Susan and Rose, Amy, thank you, Jesse, Noah, to Mary and Jennifer, Heather, Jill, and my last, like I'm getting her in. I have to talk to Sarah. Thank you so very much for your time and again opening that virtual window into your life and sharing your story. And I also thank the 33 online participants, many who in addition said yes, they would do the Zoom interview, but I took the first 15 that I could schedule with and we went with them. So for those of you that you're on the call or you're watching on Facebook and you still want to do the interview, definitely let me know. Reach out to me, reach out to Cindy, connect through the Living Donors Together of Wisconsin Facebook group, and we'll definitely schedule because we want to hear your story and we want to be able to share your story. So as Cindy said, our goal and our vision for Living Donors Together is it's to educate and empower and connect and share, but we really, really want to talk about real people, real stories, and connect. My whole vision and question to Cindy all those years ago when I donated is, okay, I donated, now what? Like, do we get a support group? Like Bill and Diane say there's support groups, like for the recipients, like what about for the donors? Like if I have questions, is there something organized in our state? And there's a lot of things online through Facebook and others, but Cindy really saw a great opportunity in partnership with the National Kidney Foundation to start this Living Donors Together of Wisconsin group. And I was like, absolutely, because this is what I felt was the biggest void for me as a way to connect with others. What if I have questions or concerns? Who can I go to? So you guys, like real stories, real people, and we want to hear from you. So for the next, I'm looking at my clock here, for literally the next 20, 25 minutes, for the 15 people that participated in the Zoom interview, we're gonna let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves, like a 2-minute intro, who you are and who you donated your kidney to, your story in 2 minutes. And Cindy told me I get to put the like timekeeper hat on too, so I will move it along so that everybody can share their story in this next 20-ish minutes. And we're going to go in this slide order, and I do have a slide with a picture that you shared as well. So for those that aren't on the call with us today, I'm just going to thank them when their slide comes up and then move along to the next person that's joining us this evening to introduce themselves. And then at the end of this, definitely an opportunity for others to share their story who are on the call, or to ask questions and just to chat, because it's a Zoom gathering, right? This is our new norm. We're getting so good at it. I wanted to invite Brenda to introduce also our feature speaker today. So we have a feature speaker who donated during the coronavirus pandemic, and I really wanted her, Megan, to share a little bit more about her story. So she's going to take a few more minutes to share. And I thought it was appropriate for Brenda to introduce her because Brenda is the one that introduced me to Megan. And Brenda and I have a really fun story as I met her at a National Kidney Foundation walk, and we're getting to talking to realize we're neighbors. She lives right behind me. I can wave to her now. So just the small connections that we learn through living organ donation. So with that, Brenda's also, I believe, Brenda is, at least for those that I interviewed, the person that donated the longest, but donated, how would you say that? She donated 14 years ago. So she,
I'm the old lady.
My first person to, yeah, I don't want to say the oldest, right? She was that I interviewed, and she was my tester for this as well. So Brenda, I really thank you for that. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and then introduce Megan.
All right. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thanks so much, Michelle, neighbor. for this opportunity, and I'm really proud of you too. Yay! So I'm Brenda Cortez, and I donated my kidney 15 years ago. So this last March was 15. Oops, that's okay. So I donated to Pam, and Pam and I, we knew each other from church and our children's school. So our kids were both in the same grades, so 2nd and 5th grade, way back when in 2005. So I had just heard of Pam's need, like in a church bulletin at first. And then I was starting the Market Day program at the school and asked her to help with the fundraiser, like with unpacking all the boxes. And she told me, oh, we got background noise. She told me that she could help with the first one, and then after that she wasn't going to be able to because she was going to be starting dialysis and she was looking for a kidney donor. And so I just said, wow, what do you have to do or whatever to be a kidney donor? And so she needed somebody with O blood type. And so I'm like, well, that's me. And that was in September of 2004. So 6 months later was when we had the transplant. So I'm proud. Yeah, I'm proud. I feel like in a lot of groups, I'm like the old timer. We can call it that, maybe. Maybe not so much in age, but it's just been a wonderful experience, and just to see how everything's evolved with this group, with so many different groups and resources, because that didn't really exist at all for me back then. Kind of felt, alone and not knowing anything. No mentor was available through the hospital. Ours was at Freighter, and now they do have a mentor program now as well that I've helped out with some, being able to mentor some people also. So where are we at for time, Michelle?
We're at the time to introduce Megan.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I had the privilege to actually meet Megan a month ago because she was nominated by Lee Casati. Here comes a dog tail behind me. He's a recipient from his living donor son. And so I have a little program, Howl's Heroes. And so that's my book character, and he's a plush. So we've been nominating some people, and he nominated Megan. She donated to Dylan. So they live in West Bend, and Megan is a fitness trainer at the Y, and that's where, Michelle, you're going. Uh-oh.
I have his name wrong on the next slide.
Oh no. Okay. Well,
Megan, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. 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 Unless I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's Dylan that she donated to.
Oh,
so, all right. I'll let her finish the story then. So, Megan, awesome to have you. I'm glad that I was able to meet with you and let you know about this group.
Thank you.
Yay. And don't mind, just take Mike out of this. I'm so sorry, Megan.
Well, that's his last name, so that's not terrible.
Oh, good. Good.
So it's okay. You're being formal.
You're so good to me.
Anyway, so my name's Megan Riedel. I am a fitness trainer at the Kettle Moraine YMCA. Last summer, I know Dylan because he folds towels. He has autism, so he's a volunteer at our Y. So I came in contact with him. Did I really know him that much? Not really. And one day I went home and I saw a post saying, hey, my brother Dylan needs a kidney. If you are willing to donate and you have an O blood type, we'd love to have you tested. So I was like, said to my husband, what do you think? He goes, sure, I'll do it too. We're both O. And so we said, sure, why not? There's no chance that I'd actually be accepted. I'm sure there's something wrong that I can't do this. So I was like, okay. So I put our names in, and that was August or July. I don't really remember. And I think we got phone calls, or I got a phone call in September for an phone interview. And then, yeah, it just continued on. And then they said, can you come in for testing in November? I said, okay. They said, it'll be all day. I said, great. So I came in, did my testing. And it's interesting because I'm short, I'm very heavy, so my BMI is high. So initially they wanted to actually say, you're not a candidate. But after they did the physical, they saw all my blood tests and they saw everything else. They kept saying, yeah, you are in great shape. And I tried to convince them of that, and I think I did a pretty good job. So then, I went through all the tests, zillions of them, as we all know, best physical ever, and ended up that finished up testing, trying to think, I think it was February, because I went on vacation. I went on a cruise end of February, and ended up finding out as soon as I got off the boat that I was accepted into the freighter. I was going to be a donor for freighter. So then we had to do the testing for the DNA match. And of course, we got off the boat March 1st. It was crazy. I walked in to do my DNA test. They ask you if you've left the country. Yeah, I spent the last week out of the country. So they loved that. They gowned up in total COVID gear, because this is like the second week in March or first week in March. So they're starting to freak out at that point. And then they're like, well, what are your symptoms? I'm like, I'm getting a DNA test and donating a kidney. They're like, oh, so it was very funny. And then I basically went in, had the 4 million vials of blood taken, was told 2 weeks later, you're a match. They said, make sure that you're set. We are scheduled for April 29th. And I asked them, I said, is anything with COVID going to change that? They said, as long as you and Dylan stay healthy, nothing is going to change. So yeah, I mean, then I was still working at that point. Mid-March was my last day of work, because then the Y closed down. So then we had a month. We had to both stay healthy. I didn't see him since early March, and I still haven't seen him either because of all the COVID stuff. So basically April 29th, or May 27th, the Monday, I went and got a drive-up COVID test. No big deal. Found out negative. All is good. I checked in Wednesday morning at the butt crack of dawn. I think it was like 5 o'clock. Went in and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought my husband wasn't going to be able to come back with me at all, but he actually got to sit in pre-op with me, because before that, the week before, they said he was not going to be allowed to be in there at all. He was going to have to wait out in the waiting room because there were no visitors because of COVID. So yes, that was interesting. I immediately got a nose auger for the second COVID test, which was a rapid test that morning of surgery. It was a 2-hour test. It was terrible. It was actually more painful than the donation surgery. But obviously that was a negative. I remember going back, seeing the cooler and saying, oh, and they said, night, night. I woke up. I felt great. I felt like I was punched in the gut. So the thing about doing this during a pandemic is that you are not allowed to have visitors. My husband was allowed to come in for 1 hour. If I was in my regular room, if I was in ICU, he wouldn't be able to see me. So he was there for that hour afterwards. Then I sent him home to hang out with my kids, with our kids. And then basically I was in the hospital by myself, no visitors. I mean, it's nice being able to do Zoom and FaceTime. So that was good. I got to talk to people, but everyone I talked to in the hospital, I didn't know they were just nurses and doctors. So that was a little weird. And Dylan was in Children's Hospital in Milwaukee, so basically next door to my hospital. So I didn't get to see him after surgery. So I kept in contact with his mom and his sister, who were by his side, because they bent the rules because of him having autism. They weren't sure how he was going to handle the whole situation. But he did great. He did get pneumonia after the surgery, but his numbers were great. His mom's like, he's never peed so much in his life. So it was awesome hearing that. He did really good. He had some complications, but as the nurses told me, they're like, don't worry about it. Rare is a day that they go through it without any complications. But today he's doing great. He actually his mom contacted me and she's like, yeah, we should get together, because he finally got the okay that he's allowed to go out in public. So again, April 29th, so this has been 10 weeks that he's sort of been at home. Well, he's been home for 7. He was in for 3 weeks at the hospital. I left 2 days later. You know, my surgery went so great. It super simple, recovery was fantastic. I'm very, very fortunate. You know, I was walking within 3 hours after surgery. And really, the only thing I missed was maybe the interaction with people at the hospital, like if someone came to visit me, because when I left the hospital, my husband could not, he could come to the front door. He couldn't really come in. So it was very interesting. Was I concerned about COVID? Not really. They kept saying, they're like, if anyone has COVID, they're not going to be anywhere near your floor. Don't worry about it. And the same questions, I said, am I more at risk? And they said, no more than any other person. They said, obviously, don't do anything silly. But yeah, it was a great experience. I'm really thankful I did it. I mean, I know Dylan's doing great now. I've seen pictures of him recently, and he lost a bunch of weight because he was very bloated because he couldn't do dialysis. It's the only reason I got to donate at this time, because because of his autism, he needed a new kidney, or it was that or nothing. So when I went in, if it didn't work, I'm not sure what the other options would be. So very thankful that it worked, and Dylan's doing great. I feel great. As I said, 10 weeks out, I feel like I never did anything. I'm a fitness trainer, so week 4 I was running, week 6 I was lifting, zip lining, you name it, I've done it, mountain biking, everything. So I must say, I'm very fortunate. I'm thankful to have had this opportunity, and my goal from now on is literally just to make sure other people understand this isn't really going to change your life. The only difference I've noticed is that I can't tolerate hot weather as much as I used to. Now that's just getting older or not used to the heat. But either way, that's the only bad thing I've noticed, and I'll survive. Not a big deal. But it's pretty awesome.
Well, and just like I did when you guys sealed the deal in your Zoom interview, as I give you the thumbs up, like that was awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I know we're always super humble too, but for donating during very uncertain times. That was above and beyond. So awesome. And thank you for sharing again. And we're going to move on to the next donor. I see that Karen, and her recipient, Ruth. Karen, you're on the call.
Yep, I am.
It's just to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Karen. I donated, it'll be 3 years in September, to my aunt down in Florida, University of Florida in Gainesville, and it was the Shands Transplant Center. It was fabulous. And my aunt is a non-blood relative. She was 64 and I was 55 when we went through it. She had a hereditary kidney disease. Her father found out kind of later in life that he was having kidney issues. He got very sick. He actually also got a kidney donation, but only lived 6 months after that. And so they tested the family, and there's 4 children, and 2 out of the 4 turned out to have the kidney disease. So Ruth and her brother. And the other 2 sisters, one was able to donate a kidney to the brother, and the other sister was not able to donate for whatever reason. And I knew her story from being in the family, and I knew nothing about kidney donation. And she retired early, like early 60s, and they moved to Florida, packed everything up. They were in Milwaukee. And she had been, treated, I think, at Freighert. And so she did some research, and they decided they wanted to move down to Florida. They live in the Villages. and they picked that area because it was in close proximity to Shands, the transplant center there and everything. She knew at some point she would need a transplant, and her kidney went downhill very quickly. You know, she was in stage 3, then stage 4. I had heard through the family that people, other friends were getting tested and all. And in the summer, this was the summer before, well, actually 2 summers before, I heard that it was progressing. The next summer, I heard people were going to be tested, and then nothing happened. And that summer, I kind of asked, you know, like everybody, you ask a couple questions, and then all of a sudden, you know, the wheels start to turn in your brain, and you start to ask yourself these questions. And the one thing that I asked was, you know, how do you do it? Is it, what's it based on? Is it, do I have to be a blood match? Is it, you know, all the little questions. And she said, yeah, it's all about blood. And she said, and since I'm a B positive, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to find a kidney. You know, I'm already on the transplant list, but nothing's happened. And of course, my little brain, I was B positive. My little brain kept going off even more. So I left that family reunion, went back home, and then in the fall later, towards Christmas, my mom had said, you know, Ruth was getting worse. Nobody was stepping up. And so it was probably right around Christmas time. I got my family together, and I own a small business. So I got my employees together, and I said, here's what I want to do. I want to try and donate a kidney if I can. I said, I just feel like this is something I need to do. But I gave my family and
you have like 20 seconds left, and then I go to the next.
Gave everybody the option to say no, and I would not say anything to her, and everybody said do it. And so I went to Florida, you know, did my whole thing down there, had fabulous support from family and friends. She is, well, it'll be 3 years in September, and she is doing phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and so am I. So there's your story. It's easy. Anybody can do it at any age.
Yes, I love that comment right there, at any age. And I was going to say, as this year is all about real people, real stories, if anyone on this call wants to keep telling their story, let us know, because you can be the feature in one of our upcoming webinars, Zoom gatherings. So there's, again, so many great stories to share as part of this project, and many more as well. Miranda, could you just take a couple moments to share more about you? Oh, and you're muted. There you go.
Yep. Hi, I'm Miranda Abbots. My story is usually a little bit different than everybody else's on these. So I'm a non-direct donor. I work at Marian University, and I knew 2 other people who had done direct donations, which kind of got me a little curious about the process. And then there was a panel at the university, a Share Your Spare panel last spring, that really got me more curious about the process, hearing from donors and recipients. So I contacted UW Health last summer for more information, went through all the testing. That took a couple months. Then I was approved, had to wait for a match. I was matched within 24 hours of getting approved, which was pretty awesome. All I knew about my recipient is they were in their 40s and they were in Massachusetts. I had thought I heard a he slip out in the hospital, so I was determined that my recipient was a male. Had my surgery and did my donation in November, so I'm just about 7 months out now. And about 3 months after donation, with no help from our teams, we actually ended up finding each other through a newspaper article that the Fond du Lac reporter did on myself. He really wanted to find me. So it is a he. He's doing amazing. And he's actually getting married this weekend. He's had to postpone his wedding 3 times because he's been so sick. So he's very excited to be getting married this weekend. So I'm so thankful I did it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Beautiful, lovely. Thank you for sharing your story and for being creative and connecting with your recipient. Talking about being creative, here's another great story. I think I saw, Marie, are you on?
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Excellent. Everyone's got little contact photos, so I have to keep through to see who's on. You have a great story, and one that's timeless here that's raising awareness. Thank you for sharing.
So I'm Marie Green Ganser. I was a non-direct donor as well. I was part of an 8-person kidney exchange. I decided to donate. I talked to a couple people who had, well, I had a student, an adult. I'm an ESL teacher, and I had a student who was waiting for a kidney, and I saw that happening. And he finally did get a deceased donor kidney, and it was touching. And I thought at the time, I wonder if I could do this. And then there was a Super Bowl party, and I ran into a high school friend who had done it. And we talked, and he was just all about it. He said, it's just a wonderful experience. So I decided it was a good time in my life. I wasn't working at the time. I decided to donate altruistically. It's kind of a long story, but I was part of an 8-person exchange, and I ended up giving a kidney to Paul in Michigan. I didn't know him, obviously, when I donated. It turned out we were almost next door to each other in the hospital. He knew who I was. His sister was there and figured it out. She even talked to me in the hallway. And months later, we were exchanging letters. And when we finally agreed to contact each other, he said, I saw you in the hospital. I saw your husband. And it was just so cool when I finally did meet him. And I've met with him several times since then. It would be 2 years this week, actually, the 10th of July. So he's doing great. He was on dialysis for 2 years. He's back to work. He's feeling great, energetic. And like all of you, it's something I would do again and again. It's a great experience.
Awesome. And can you quickly share about the calendar?
Oh, yeah. I was June. I was Miss June. So I'm a big traveler, and I had several trips planned. I had a trip planned to Switzerland in the fall, and I gave my kidney in July. So 6 weeks later, I went to Switzerland, and then the following year, I had 2 weddings to go to in the Netherlands and India, and I was able to do those. Felt great. Like Megan, after a few weeks, I was just back at it, and it was amazing, really. I mean, I was 61 when I donated, and I have had no health issues at all, knock on wood. Yeah, it was great. It was a good experience. And I know I share this with all of you. It was something I will never regret having done.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing. Susan, are you still on the call?
I am here. I'm just getting my mute and my video up. There we go.
There we go. I'm like, I thought I saw you.
I'm here, just quiet. So I was first introduced to the idea of kidney donation when my receptionist sister needed a kidney. She had received a transplant kidney when she was very young. It lasted about 30 years and was starting to fail. No one in her family or any friends were able to donate to her. So I offered to be tested, and it turned out I was a match for her. We were pretty much just waiting for the time when she actually needed the kidney at that point. Unfortunately, she ran into some other health complications, had blood transfusions, which then upped the antibodies for her, and I no longer could directly donate to her. So then we kind of changed courses, and we're looking into a shared exchange program where I could donate to somebody else and she could get a kidney through that program. Before we could even get into that process, miraculously, she got a deceased donor kidney from New York. So she successfully got that kidney. I waited a few months to make sure everything was okay with her. And then I contacted the transplant coordinator we'd been working with and said, I still want to give my kidney. I've seen what it's like for someone to go through this process and what it's like to be on dialysis and wait for this. So as long as I'm healthy enough, find somebody for me to donate to. So my kidney went to somebody in Los Angeles, and his wife donated on his behalf, and there were about 8 people. So a kidney came back to someone off the waiting list in Wisconsin through that paired exchange program. And I donated in November of 2011. The photo here is from a group called Destination Donation. They try to promote athletes to be kidney donors, or just on your driver's license be an organ donor. And that group had approached me after my donation because they knew I did triathlons and was an athlete. They said, hey, do a race for us, be our our girl for this race. So I did the Racine Half Ironman, which was a crazy thing to do, and I'll never do another one, but it was a great experience, and it was a good thing to just be able to show people you can donate a kidney and there's no limits on what you can do. You can still live an active life, do everything else that you want to do in life after donating.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Ruth, Rose, were you able to join us? She said she was up north in the northern woods and reception sometimes doesn't allow for her to join. I don't think I hear Rose. Nope. So I'm going to go to the next. I see Amy. Amy's a rock star with a cool story. Amy?
Hi, my name is Amy Prince. I am in Holman, Wisconsin, just outside of La Crosse, and I donated to my recipient 2 years ago in May. Ours is a social media story. I knew nothing about organ donation when this all started, so it was kind of a learning process for me, but my recipient Stephanie and I were both fans of the same band, which is in the picture, O-Town. And they had put out on their Twitter, the band Twitter account, that, you know, a fan was looking for a kidney, and it sparked my interest. So I clicked on the link that they posted and saw that we were the same blood type. And I just had this feeling that I should get tested for her. And turns out we were a match. I was one of, other than her family, which was not able to donate to her, I was the one and only person that got tested. So it was kind of miraculous that I ended up being the match for her. But yeah, I had to fly out to Philadelphia, that's where she lives, and donated at Jefferson University Hospital. Had to be out there. I had, my kids at the time were 6 and 3. And I had to be away for 5 weeks, so that was kind of a tough time for our family. But we made it through, and she's doing great, and I'm doing great, and now 28 weeks pregnant with our 3rd child. So, yeah.
Amazing. That was when you welcomed me in your home. I was like, oh, congratulations! And then you'll have that story of life after donation, pregnancy after donation. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Jessie, I saw you're on the line.
Hi, I'm Jessie Steiner. I live in Fillmore, Wisconsin, which is in between Kewaskum and West Bend. I donated in a paired exchange program for my friend Michelle. We are coming up on our 1-year anniversary at the end of July. So like 3 or 4 years ago, Michelle actually was trying to find a kidney, and I was willing to donate, and somebody else actually beat me to it. Then there were some complications, and the new kidney that Michelle got actually had to be discarded. And so then she was able to last like 3 more years on her regular kidney. And then fast forward to her needing a kidney again, and she was mentioning it, and I jumped on board immediately. I call myself like the most uneducated kidney donor because I didn't even know my blood type. Like, I just had a feeling like I was meant to do this, and I was going to, no matter what. And since I missed the chance the last time, I felt like this was a blessing, and it just had to be. It was meant to be. Turns out that I wasn't a direct match for her, but I was a match for somebody in Illinois who was on dialysis for many, many years. And so I was able to donate to her in Freighter in Milwaukee. We were all there together. I donated to Lori, and then Lori had a friend, Carly, who donated to my friend Michelle. So we're all doing really great. Just like everybody else, it was one of the easiest things I've ever done. I was up walking several hours later as well. I run and I do a 5K every month, and I did my August 5K at the end of August, 4 weeks after donation. So it really hasn't stopped me at all. And I tell everybody that I would do it again, definitely, if I could. So I have 2 young kids, and I'm glad that I can show them that like kindness is really super easy. Brenda's book that she wrote was super helpful for my kids. They loved it. Yeah, so it was a really great experience, and I'm so thankful to be part of the journey. So
excellent. Thank you for sharing. And as Brenda also mentioned earlier, Freighter has a peer-to-peer mentor program, and I was able to connect with Jessie when she had questions while she was evaluating as that peer mentor. So how our worlds all connect, and now we're Facebook friends, and I'm always inspired by your running posts. So thank you for keeping all of us motivated. Megan, I don't know if we can be friends on that workout circuit. I see you on, even though we are friends on Facebook, but I'm like, oh, I gotta catch up with you guys.
I'm a little insane. What can I say?
Right, I love it. I love it. And then the guy that drove miles to save a life, Noah.
All right, I am not muted. Sorry, we're in the car presently. We just parked, so it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. So my name is Noah Torres. I live in Prague, Oklahoma. So I'm way far south down here. Much like Miss Amy, I believe it was a social media situation. So back in June of 2017, I had started a new job, and we had some downtime, so I was scrolling through the Facebook, and I have a friend that I've had for a long time that lives up in northern Wisconsin who shared a post by a pub in Marinette. And the post that they had shared was of a big billboard that was parked on the side of the highway that was a big 30-foot wanted poster. So it was advertised that they needed a kidney for their son, who was a father of 2 children, and they had a big number posted at the bottom of it to call and ask questions. So at one point, I just kind of shared the post and I went along. So about a couple weeks later, I scrolled back through, and it took a lot of scrolling because you know how social media is. You got 100 posts between this and the one you actually want to look at. So I did some scrolling. I found the phone number and I called. I ended up talking to my recipient's mother. I asked the question, what kind of blood type does he have? He said, oh, it doesn't matter. Just call the number and talk to the transplant office, clinic. So I ended up getting in touch with my transplant coordinator, Jeff, up in St. Luke's Aurora in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we started talking back and forth, and the hospital that I did all my pre-donation testing is actually in the same health group. So I was able to get my orders mailed, take them to my hospital, and then they would just put it in the system and they could read it nearly instantly up in Wisconsin. And about halfway through the testing, I had to rent a car, drive up to Wisconsin, meet the surgeon, do some final testing, and then I left, and a couple of days after I had finally driven home, I got the call that I had been approved, and we had set a date for February in 2018. And the day before the surgery, I actually got to meet my recipient, and we sat down and had a very short meal there at the cafeteria in the hospital. And so we took a picture together, and we went our own separate ways. And I was so excited about actually being there and going through with the surgery that I had been awake for about 36 and a half hours by the time I met him. And I slept through all of my alarms the next morning. I got a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning. Hey, you're an hour late for a surgery. We kind of can't start without you. Do you still want to do this? And so my wife and I, we panicked. We called an Uber. We got this really great guy. Now it's February in Wisconsin, so there's snow and ice everywhere. And we got this really great Uber driver who was drifting around the corners and sliding into the parking lot. So as soon as he stopped the car, I ran to the hospital saying, I'm Noah, I'm here for the surgery. And they gave me something to relax a little bit. And I don't remember much after that. I woke up in the hospital the next morning, or that afternoon, and the surgeon was asking me how I felt. And I said, I'm a little tender. And he had informed me that I had lost a knife fight. So I'm going to be tender. So here 2.5 years later, I'm I'm still working. I'm turning wrenches. I'm working outside, and things are significantly better than they were before I only had one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing and being a part of our call tonight, all the way from Oklahoma. Really appreciate it, Noah. Mary, I don't think you're with us tonight, but Mary lives on the East Coast. Or is she here? I'm looking in the little chat. Mary had a great story, and she shared her kidney with a family member pictured here this evening. Thanks, Mary, for sharing. Jennifer, are you still with us, or did you have to hop off?
No, I'm here. Let me turn my video on.
There it is. Another sweet story.
I actually just wanted to say before I say anything else that I noticed that Sarah Katz is on the line, and her and I had actually emailed back and forth before she gave her kidney. So it's kind of nice to be able to see her, and I'm glad that she's doing well. So that's cool. Yeah, so I donated a kidney to my dad at Mayo Clinic in December of 2017. He was, I believe, 68 or 69. Him and I did marathons together a lot. You know, the 10 years or so prior to that. I'm a triathlete like many others on the call, actually. And so I was, he had kidney failure from a very rare autoimmune disorder called Goodpasture's disease or anti-GBM disease that just killed off his kidneys basically without warning. And so he was on dialysis for about a year, and that was awful. And so then he finally agreed to let me give him a kidney, and I did that in, as I said, December 2017. And he had a couple of complications afterwards. He got sepsis, I think once or twice. But he's in Michigan, and I am a professor at Marquette in Milwaukee, so they would always sort of stop at our place on their way from Michigan to Mayo Clinic, so we just kind of decided to do it there. And since then, he's back at it. We're doing the sort of organ donation 5Ks together, and everything is great. So he's living his best life, and they're coming to town this weekend. So I think everything really went very well, and I'm really happy that I was able to do that for my dad.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and that love for your dad. It was very inspiring. Thank you. Is Heather on the line with us? She had a really great connection to Sherry, who she knew from church, and has a really, again, very special and touching story to share. So thanks, Heather, for being a part of my capstone. Jill, do you have that one final thing you'd like to say? I know you got to intro at the beginning. Any final words before we go to Sarah? And you're muted.
Sorry, I forgot I had my headset muted too. My story is super long and complicated, and so I won't get into all of it. Oh, and my dog has to be on the video because we usually do online Zumba, so he's a little confused. But anyway, I originally was going to donate to a patient of mine. I'm an optometrist in central Wisconsin, and I say my story was a God thing. I mean, I knew for sure when he told me he needed a kidney that I was going to donate to him, and he ended up, after a whole series of events, we ended up getting canceled, and 2 weeks prior to surgery, and then told he would never be able to get a kidney transplant. We transferred hospitals, big long event. We were going to go into the swap program, which was brand new at the time, and he ended up getting a deceased donor kidney on January 11th, 2011 at 11 p.m. He actually received the call. And I was a little bit confused then as to what was going to happen, but down the line, a coworker of mine introduced me to her friend, Sarah. And as I told you at the beginning of the call, kind of the rest is history. Sarah and I had surgery on July 21st, 2011 at UW. She had major complications. She actually had the top surgeon at UW, and he said he'd done 3,000 transplants, and it was the most difficult transplant he'd ever done. She lost pretty much every ounce of blood in her body. They had to give her that many transfusions. It was actually kind of we jokingly refer to it now as the day I tried to kill Sarah, because it was my kidney that actually did it. When they were sewing it in, the vein of my kidney completely just fell apart. They said, the surgeon said it was like suturing wet toilet paper. And they ended up taking the kidney out and putting it on ice for 2 hours while they decided what to do. But I believe UW saved her life. I believe UW saved our kidney. And since then, we have just really devoted ourselves to raising awareness and raising funds for both UW and for the Restore and Hope Transplant House in Middleton, which is an amazing place. If you've never been there, please go there and visit them when you can. They're putting on $1 million donation or addition, just an amazing place. So we're very thankful for the transplant community. It's completely changed my life in every positive way possible. Thanks.
And thank you so much for sharing. Sarah?
Yeah, I'm here. First, I just have to say, I literally almost started crying when I saw Jen Finn was on here, because I will just say she was the person that the conversations I had with her over email changed everything. Over the phone, kept checking up on me. And I just have to say that was a huge turning point for me. And so I'm so happy to see you and to see your face, and really you mean a lot to me. Second of all, I just have to say to Noah that I'm from Marinette, so I just can't believe you're the person you gave to is from Marinette, because nobody even knows where Marinette is. So that's kind of cool too. And I also just want to say to Michelle, I just think this is so cool that you're doing this, and I think you deserve 110% actually. So my story is, and first of all, my friend Jen is here and she keeps filling up my wine glass. So I just want to say it's not me doing that. And I have a little hound here and another puppy here and my husband here and my friend Jen, because big deal. I donated to my nephew, Adam. He was 24 when he was diagnosed with end-stage kidney disease. By the time I donated to him, he was on peritoneal dialysis for 11.5 hours a day. So he really did not have a life at all. I was not a direct match for him, but I was healthy enough to give a kidney. And so my kidney went to someone in New York. I have never connected with that person, but Adam got a kidney just a few months after that, and he's doing very, very well. He went from having 0 energy and 0 urine to really, like, he gained weight and he was hungry and he was peeing, and it was really awesome. He came every Sunday night for dinner, and the first time he went to the bathroom in our house, we like all cheered. We're like, oh my gosh, he has to go to the bathroom. So that was really awesome. Again, I connected with Jen through Kidney Donor Athletes, and I was fortunate enough to run a half marathon 4 months after I gave, and still running. My running partner's here right now, and I would not change a thing. I'm so glad I was able to give. If I had more kidneys, I'd give another one, and I think Jen said that when I talked to her initially. So, oh, and the funny thing, and I told Michelle this, but when the surgeon did my surgery, he said when he was done, he was like, it was like a day at the golf course. So he's like, everything went well. I feel great. I'm so grateful that I was able to do this. And I'm so happy you're doing this, because really it was me reaching out to people who had done it that gave me the confidence and reassurance to do it. And really, Jen Finn right there, that's the gal. That's all I got.
I love it. I love it. Well, right now, both of your contact photos are right next to each other. So I got a good little screenshot, and I posted it on my Facebook page where I'm sharing the Facebook Live. So if you guys have multiple technologies going, go now and share from the National Kidney Foundation page or our Living Donor page and share the live. Because as we wrap up, the next part of this is the opportunity to interact and engage and invite our community to raise awareness and to raise funds to support living organ donation and transplant in general. So that was so much fun. My heart is so full. Thank you. Thank you guys again for being a part of this capstone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Those of us who are hearing about this project for the first time and were inspired to jump on and learn more about COVID and other living donor stories. Thank you guys for being here. I'm going to open it up. I know we're over time, which we always are. So if you need to jump off, I completely understand. But if you have time to stay, we have a little bit more to talk about. But I wanted to see if there was any questions from those that are on the Zoom interview, or if anybody else, there's a few. I see Ron and I see Katie. Is anybody else on the call that would also like to share their story?
I would. This is Ron. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, Ron.
Hi. See, can I tell you my story kind of quick here?
Please, I love it.
Because all you guys are so recent. I donated 29 years ago last week. And this, I don't know if you can see, but that's my daughter. She was 6 years old at the time. She's 30, whatever, 29 plus 6. So she's 35 now. Still working. Kidney's still working. And by the looks of everybody I've seen on the screen, I'm probably double your age of everybody at least on here. But I just wanted to let you know that as donors, you're going to travel through life and you're going to have this donation shadow following you through your whole life. And I just want you to know it's one of the most rewarding things that will always be with you. And it's going to enhance your life, and it's going to make you, already has, I'm sure, make you a better person, and it's going to just do wonderful things for you. There's so many things that happen that are good in your life because of what you've done. So congratulations to all of you. So that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for that shout out. And glad that you could be here this evening. I'm just curious, what inspired you to pop on and participate?
Well, I've known Cindy for a long time at the National Kidney Foundation. Laura and I, my wife and son, participated in the kidney. We used to have the transplant games back in the 2000s, early 2000s, and we did a lot of those. And I just believe in the cause. It's a great cause. And I live in Eau Claire, so I'm a little disjointed. It's a little hard to get to any events down in Madison, Milwaukee area. But now that I'm retired again, I'm a retired school superintendent. So I keep getting called back. So I've said no more of that. But I'd like to get more involved again and help the organization out if I can.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, again, that connection to Cindy is always a good one. Thanks again for sharing. Katie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie. Yeah, I probably filled out that quiz a little bit late. Just like everything with COVID, everything seemed like there was a lot of time, and then all of a sudden there wasn't. So, but I donated my kidney to my brother 15 years ago when I was 24. He had received 3 liver transplants prior, and due to the medication that he was on, his kidney was failing. And so at that time, I have four brothers, and so 4 of us got tested. 3 of us, I guess, got tested for Colin, and I was the best match at the time. So I actually did the kidney donation during my Christmas break. I'm a teacher. I was a teacher at the time. Now I'm an assistant principal, but I was a first grade teacher, and so I took 1 day early off of Christmas break and donated my kidney on December 21st. Probably the best Christmas gift for both of us. And 15 years later, Colin's doing great. He actually just changed careers. He was an engineer, but now he's going into child life as a child life specialist, working in hospitals. And I think it's just because he had so much experience working with people in hospitals and watching how people worked with him when he was young, and he wants to give back. And so it's really fun to watch him give back to that community. And yeah, so, and I love all the runners here because I too actually run. So I finished my first marathon last fall. So yes, so I'm not sure if there will be any more of that, but I'm glad I got that under my belt, and we'll move on to other 5Ks and 10Ks.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, a nice, beautiful segue is we are going to be talking about the Capital City Run and Walk. If you haven't heard or seen my promo on the bottom here. But is there anybody else on the call who would like to introduce themselves or any questions? There will be time at the end too that we can stay and connect, but thank you everybody for being runners and being active and outdoors and wanting to, for all of us, maintain our health as we move through life with our one kidneys. So wanted to take this opportunity, as we always talk about living donors together of Wisconsin, and again, it's there to connect us and to keep us engaged and empowered and continuing to raise awareness, whatever that means for you. But it's also an opportunity for us to share opportunities. And so Capital City is one of the National Kidney Foundation's premier fundraisers, and it is so well done. And I was honored to be there for the first time a couple years ago, and I loved it. I loved it, and I'm like, I'm gonna be back every year. Well, here we are. I'm gonna be there this year, and I'm gonna be there at home, as we're now taking this event local and virtual. And so from a Living Donors Together of Wisconsin perspective, we have a team. We have opportunities for those that wanna join a Living Donor team to do that with us. And so I have listed on the screen here the website. I'm posting about it on Living Donors. National Kidney's posting about it. You can search it on the website if you haven't already. And if you're interested and can join us on July 25th, please do so. And even if you're not able to participate on the 25th, you could participate by fundraising and raising donations to support National Kidney Foundation. As we know, and Jill's talked about it, and Brenda, and those that I'm friends with, we've all posted, fundraisers aren't happening as they traditionally have in the past because of COVID. And we need to get really creative about how we're raising funds. And we know we can have the power of the internet and the power of our networks to do that. And so I really encourage everybody to consider being a part of Capital City, joining the Living Donors Together of Wisconsin team, which right before this, John, one of the fabulous volunteers for National Kidney, told me that our team goal, we're like up to $200, John? If you're unmuting, I was like, ooh, that's awesome, but we've raised more money already in these last few hours. And then I gave you a sample of what Jill Dillon and I have done for like individual fundraiser teams. We've set our individual goals, and then you can link to Living Donors Together of Wisconsin to help us reach that $2,500 goal to raise awareness and funds, I should say. And when you're on the fundraiser page, kind of on the left side of the screen, it's a donate button. When you're on the Cap City page, where you can donate or become a fundraiser, you click on that link, and then it walks you through how to set it up and how to connect to our team. So run, walk, do it at home, fundraise, however it makes sense for you. We would love for all of our living donors to participate this year, especially in these critical and urgent times that our nonprofits need the funds to continue to do the good work. And we know, thank you, Cindy, and to your team, Amanda, John, all of your volunteers and staff, we really appreciate all you do to connect us and give us that social support group in place to ask our questions and gather. So truly thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Cindy at this time, just to go through a few more of these fabulous event highlights. But reminder too, if you haven't already, go to Facebook Live and share and join Living Donors Together of Wisconsin if you're not part of our Facebook group. I appreciate everything again, guys. I think my time is done. I don't get to talk anymore on this. So again, thank you.
Well, thanks, Michelle. And that was a nice segue, and I made a note of all you runners, so I'm coming after you. So anyway, again, I'm grateful to Michelle and grateful for your efforts to keep us all connected, and I look forward to seeing some of the other videos throughout the summer and as we move into the fall. But I do want to just highlight what we're trying to do to keep the spirit of Capital City alive. We've been doing this event since 2011. Typically, we meet in Madison, donor families, living donors, recipients from all over the Midwest gather together. And this summer, of course, we're going to do things a little bit differently. So anytime during the day on the 25th, you can run, walk, or bike, or do whatever, and really celebrate donors. What makes 2020 really, really special is we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of the online donor registry launch here in Wisconsin. And the National Kidney Foundation of Wisconsin was part of that launch as it relates to saving lives here in Wisconsin. And you'll learn through our activities on the 25th that over 7,000 people, their lives have been saved because of the launch of that registry. So we're going to have a little, if you want to go back one more slide, John, we're going to have, you don't have to get up at 8 in the morning, but for those of you that are early birds, we have Duke Harvey, who is the owner of Needed Relief Day Spa in Madison, but he himself has a personal connection to kidney disease, which he'll share his story. But he initially got involved with us because he lost an employee while she was waiting for a kidney. And so he's been involved with us for all 10 years. So he'll be doing a little stretching. Then you'll hear a beautiful rendition of the national anthem by some of you might know that have interacted at Advocate Aurora. Chelsea Daniels will be joining us and sharing her passion for music. We just thought it was a great way to start the day. And next slide, John. In the evening, we're coming together, and I hope all of you will join us online and share to join online. We're going to really celebrate those 7,000 lives that have been saved. A key partner, as you know, in Wisconsin is the DMV, and so Christina Boardman will be joining us and sharing her thoughts about the connection the DMV has in terms of saving lives. She'll also share a little bit of insight in terms of some of the employees who themselves have been recipients of transplants and et cetera. We'll be honoring all deceased donors throughout the program, and we have some special guests that I'm sure many of you will be happy to see from UW Health. We have some recipients, some donor families, and we have a very special spokesperson representing UW Health. They're our primary sponsor for this event, and we're really proud that they've been our partner since 2011. Lastly, we'll be ending with a very special story from a recipient in the Appleton area who will meet her donor family, or her donor's mom, as part of that particular celebration. So again, I hope that you'll participate. I hope you'll sign up. Anyone that signs up before July 15th, we're going to mail your spirit gear right to you. If you post your pictures throughout the day on the 25th, we'll be pulling those down from the internet, and you'll see yourselves as part of that 6:30 celebration. So you might want to get up at 8:30. There's part of your spirit gear, you'll be able to choose the type of commemorative bib you'd like to have. Michelle just chose to share for this slide the living donor bib that you'll get to keep. And kids that sign up actually get some special stuff in their pack. So next slide. And oh, Michelle, we're back to you. Well,
we're back to me. That was my end of my sharing the slides. Now John's going to take over and share his.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry I kept calling you John.
That's okay. I kept going, it's me, I'm screwing it up.
Well, that's what that meant. I thought you were just saying how happy and how well I was doing.
I was like, oh, that's me.
Oh. Well, I think we've had a great open mic, but again, I want to thank Michelle, and I do want to thank Jill for all of their efforts to support the National Kidney Foundation Living Donors Together program. After tonight, you will get a short survey to let us know your feedback. But again, I just want to honor and want you to know that we've created this platform for all of us to come together, not just here in Wisconsin, but throughout the country. We want to, our commitment is to try to keep you current. So throughout the year, we'll also have some educational programs as well as the opportunity to share stories and to network. We have a great Facebook group that Jill and Michelle are actively monitoring, and it's a great place also for individuals that might be waiting for a transplant, as well as for those of you considering, so folks that you know that are considering living donation. Now do I say, John, next slide? So I want to encourage you to join that Facebook group. What was the last thing I was supposed to say there, John? Oh, well, I think I went through all of those particular things. We are recording tonight's program, but I do want to also mention and put in a just a sad note, if you will, but the need for us to really promote living donation. What a lot of people might not know about the COVID outbreak is that it's actually causing an increase in terms of the number of new kidney patients, because those that are hospitalized are experiencing kidney difficulties. In fact, some of the early studies now indicate, as you can see on the slide, that up to 40% of the folks that acquire COVID-19 as it relates to, especially those that are hospitalized, are going to experience acute kidney injury. Now, some may suffer significant kidney failure after that. So it really is important for us even more to double down on our efforts to promote living kidney donation. So we're also, we need to make sure that what we do in our advocacy, not just in terms of participating in the capital city, but recently all of you, if you're on our mailing list, should have gotten a letter from me indicating that another way you can help either tonight or tomorrow is to go online and please let our congressional representatives know. In the upcoming COVID legislation that's going to be considered at the end of July, our organization, the National Kidney Foundation nationwide, is pushing for inclusion of the comprehensive immunosuppression drug coverage for all kidney recipients for the lifetime of their transplant. And as Ron knows, he knows very intimately how critical lifetime coverage is for recipients. So all of you can just press a button and be an advocate, and that's another way that we can all impact things. So it's easy to find your representative. You just go to house.gov, representatives, and if you're in Wisconsin, it's easy to find who's representing your area. Please, 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 you just have to type very quickly, but your voices individually need to be heard. And again, we want to make sure that everyone has access to things. And John, you can keep going. And again, just have to put in a plug for getting connected with all of us, etc., through all of the social media. And then there are other ways to help. And I think John advanced a slide about Amazon Smile. That's another way. Many of your favorite charities, I'm sure, are a part of Amazon Smile, and we too are. So that's another way for those of us that might want to take advantage of helping either our particular organization or another charity that you care very passionately about. So after this particular event tonight, you'll be getting a short survey. We hope that you will give us feedback. Jill, Michelle, and I take very careful look at that feedback, and we want to design future programs to make sure that they meet your needs. So Michelle, Jill, all of you, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It was an inspirational night and well worth all of our times. Michelle, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thanks, Michelle. Great job.
Good
July
night,
25th,
everyone.
we'll see you guys there.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.